I was in my office the other day, doing some leading, when some of your cohorts from the More IT Leaders program asked me to say a few leaderly words. That seemed important. In fact, it seemed immediate. So I took some eye time to reflect. Congratulations to all of you on your completion of the More IT Leaders program. We're glad to have you along in our leadership journey at Iowa. And we know that you've invested a lot. The university has invested a lot in you too. In fact, we think it's the best $40 that we've ever spent. Now, if anybody else needs me, I'll be up on the balcony doing some strategic thinking.
Immediate versus what?
Important.
Hey, Annette.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So, I'm going around and asking people about the 4 eyes. Tell me about the 4 eyes.
4 eyes. I think that's Iowa.
Honestly, I do not do that.
What can you tell me about the 4 eyes?
4 eyes. I struggle with this one sometimes.
Illinois.
It's what we called kids with glasses.
Oh,
4 eyes, 4 eyes, 4 eyes.
Indiana.
4 eyes in Mississippi.
4 eyes.
Do you recall the 4 eyes?
I recall they exist.
Idaho. And that's the 4 eyes.
4 eyes, 4 eyes, 4 eyes.
No, seriously, in the ITLP we learned about the 4 eyes, and we stressed that throughout the whole program, and those are initiate, inquire, invest, and influence. And I think that I try to live by those and remember those as I'm going out and trying to meet people. If you never initiate a conversation, you don't know anything about that person. And I think the inquirers ask them how they feel about stuff rather than just tell them how you feel. The investing, you've got to invest time and energy into getting to know people and building relationships. And then after all of those 3 things, use your influence to help each other understand what you can do for each other and how you can help each other and grow in leadership.
Honestly, I do not do that.
Do you do any impressions?
I don't.
Okay.
And of course there's Brian, which, do you have something I can throw?
The image of Brian with the eraser.
So, yeah, actually my Brian impression would be to grab this marker and throw it faster.
Yeah, there's...
There were very few things thrown.
Had it been sharp, it would have stuck in the wall without a doubt.
Lori is in some ways kind of the opposite of that.
No, Lori was always full of wisdom and would always say awesome things.
And I really enjoyed Lori. She was just, I always felt like, I should have to pay her like a psychiatric fee.
She's more of the quiet, empathetic, identify mantra.
She really is. She's just, that emotional intelligence level that she has is pretty amazing.
Well, I could probably imitate Gary with a glass of wine.
How am I intentional? How am I intentional? I can't really be unintentionally intentional.
The idea being that you wanted to think through your approach to any given scenario before you rush off and immediately begin doing.
It's more knowing who I am and how I do things.
I've definitely been focusing more on being intentional with how I interact with people, with what goals I have going into a meeting. If there's specific points that I feel should be discussed in a meeting or specific actions that should be taken, I'm more intentional about how I'm bringing those up in a meeting, so. What are the 3 lenses?
I don't remember.
There's a cultural lens,
So it's political.
a political lens,
Cultural. Is cultural one of them?
Yes.
and one more. Putting yourself into a position to not just think black and white, or a little bit outside your world, or maybe empathy, or at least having an appreciation that there's a bigger picture here.
When you look at a desired future state and assess the current state, what are you doing?
Thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner tonight?
When you look at desired future state and assess the current state, what are you doing?
Well, you're on the balcony.
When you look at a desired future state and assess the current state, what are you doing?
Being strategic.
Gap analysis. Yeah, do you remember that?
I do remember gap analysis, yeah.
You're, looking at the desired state.
Yeah. They call it a gap analysis.
A gap analysis.
Yes, yeah.
So I think you're talking about a gap analysis.
What about your buttons? Brian talked to us about buttons. Do you have any buttons, Lori? You seem so composed all the time.
I have tons of buttons, Jennifer.
So I think that one of them for me is a lack of planning.
One is a lack of communication.
So I wasn't ready for quizzes.
Somebody feeling entitled to something.
Customer service is a very big button of mine.
Especially when you're dealing with outside vendors.
So that sense of entitlement, which then I think leads to kind of a level of disrespect.
No is never an answer. There's always yeses. There's some yeses that are more desirable than others, and sometimes none of the yeses are desirable.
And just making a huge stink about it.
No, seriously, what was that supposed to be about? What are some of your buttons?
Or they just want to say, well, I know somebody who could have done it. And just, it's not helping anybody.
So leadership. I think that's about getting my team to do what I want them to do and doing all my work for me so I can go golf.
Recognizing that leadership is not something that is a title. It's not something that you necessarily deserve. It's something that you've earned. It's something through practice.
Everybody has the books they read, right?
Yeah.
One of my main books that I read is Lincoln on leadership, and so I've read that backward forward. I think he was an amazing leader. So
Leadership to me is doing everything that I can do to pave the way for the staff who work for me.
somewhat of an unintentional leader in ways, but he was just brilliant on how he did it. Surrounding himself with diverse opinions when it maybe wasn't the easiest path.
You're using the whole team and looking at their strengths and their skill sets and bringing everybody in the team as an important factor in getting the job done.
And then I also have my monkey. He's holding out there trying to remind me not to get all the tasks on my plate. So, there you go. I'm Tim Wolf.
I spend eye time away from my desk. I do a lot of writing in my head.
I would say number one is just the sense of community.
One of the strong pluses for me has been being able to meet and interact and build strong relationships with people that I otherwise wouldn't have met.
All the stuff in the program is valuable, but it was the meeting the people at other institutions.
The best part of it was building relationships with all of the other people that I did not know previously.
Definitely the biggest was the relationship building.
I think it's the relationships that you're building with people.
One is the networking and the relationship building.
I guess I really don't have any deltas
I don't like brothers.
that Brian would let me put on a flip chart, so.
Are there any people you wish you hadn't met through the ITLP?
Oh, probably.
Like who?
I wasn't ready for quizzes.
It's good to be king, if just for a while. To be there in velvet, yeah, to give them a smile. It's good to get high and never come down. It's good to be king of your own little town. Yeah, the world would swing. Oh, if I were king. Can I help it if I still dream time to time? It's good to be king and have your own way. Get a feeling of peace at the end of the day. And when your bulldog barks and your canary sings, you're out there with winners. It's good to be king. Yeah, I'll be king when dogs get wings. Can I help it if I still dream time to time? It's good to be king and have your own world. It helps to make friends. It's good to meet girls, a sweet little queen who can't run away. It's good to be king, whatever it pays. Excuse me if I have some place in my mind where I go time to time.